Hello, my name is Selena, and I'm a part of the Let's Discuss A Course in Miracles webinar team at the Foundation for Inner Peace. The mission of the Foundation for Inner Peace is to publish, distribute, and discuss A Course in Miracles, and we are holding these Let's Discuss online webinars as an expression of our vision of extending love through A Course in Miracles teachings. Before I introduce today's pre-recorded discussion, I invite you to join me in prayer. From the text, chapter 2. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent Him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because He who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever He wishes, knowing He goes there with me. I will be healed as I let Him teach me to heal. Amen. Now it's time for our session entitled Gratitude When Miracles Happen. In the Course in Miracles teaching, miracles are defined as a shift in our perception from fear to love. And while gratitude offers us a way back to experiencing love from disconnection that we encounter in the world, it begs us to explore how gratitude and miracles are connected, and why is gratitude a key to inner peace even amidst life's challenges. So our companions today, they're going to help us unpack this concept of how gratitude is connected to miracles. And so it's a pleasure to have and welcome our guest panelists. We have speaker, teacher, and author, Reverend Jim White, who is joining, and also with us is a Course in Miracles student, online therapist, and Foundation for Inner Peace volunteer, Maggie Fitzsimmons. Both are joining our Let's Discuss conversation for their first time. We also have Foundation for Inner Peace team members with us, Chief Development Officer Laura Fenimore and Foundation President Tam Morgan. Hello, everybody, and welcome to you all. This is really such a great topic. And, at this time of year, we're all thinking about gratitude. And gratitude connected with miracles. If we could just have a chance to go around and talk about how does A Course in Miracles teach us to experience gratitude? Maybe we can start off our conversation like that today.
Thank you, Selena. I think the way that the Course teaches us is through applying its principles every day. And as much as we can remember to apply its principles, because it's like exercising muscles that we haven't used in quite a while. So one of its teachings, as we've learned, is gratitude. And what does gratitude mean? There is the statement, love is the way I walk in gratitude, which I think says it all. Because when we're reminded of our natural state of being, which is love, we are grateful for everything. We understand. The deeper we get into that state, we tend to, I'll just speak for myself here. I start to see how everything is perfect, even in its imperfection. So when I'm having a really horrible day and the last thing I can remember is to suddenly be grateful, when I do remember it, because I'm anchored in the Course lessons and also in reading, I remember, oh, this is an experience that I am supposed to be having right now for whatever reason, even though my mind cannot figure it out. And when I experience that moment of, it's not even up to me, this is perfection, then gratitude comes in for the learning experience. And I end up seeing things about it by developing the witness self, seeing things about it that I would not normally if I was just reacting or behaving in it. And that's just one of the many ways that we'll be talking about, but that is a way for me to remember daily, all of this is perfect. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming in with a higher, deeper, more knowing intelligence than what my brain seems to have or my ego self seems to have. And that just it just gratitude accompanies that effortlessly when I realize I'm actually not in charge and I'm a very controlling person. So you'd think that that would be an uncomfortable feeling, but really it's much more comfortable, as the prayer that you led us with, to know that there is something greater in charge than my small ego handling a situation. And I am so grateful for that. So that's just to start us off. What do you, Reverend Jim, what do you think about that?
Well, first of all, let me say what a privilege and honor it is to be with you guys. It's like I watch you on TV and all of a sudden I get to be here with you. So, speaking of gratitude, oh, my heart is very open. I guess to begin to offer my 2 cents on this, my best way to say why I'm always grateful or can walk in a grateful mentality, the word that first comes to mind is clarity. And that's what A Course in Miracles has helped me with. I've been doing it, teaching this for 20 years or something like that. And that would be my summary of why I'm grateful. Now, why is clarity what I'm grateful for? Because now I understand that I got a new book out. It's called Earth School, Why We Think We're Here. And I'm grateful that I understand that I'm not here, but I am in a classroom environment that has lovingly been designed for the purposes of my good. So, however it looks to Jim, I have to think in a bigger picture to have greater clarity and know that this is more than about this individual Jim. There is a collective that runs this thing, the one that runs the cosmos and yet grows your fingernails. That's the one the Course has taught me to be in sync with. And as I've seen the beneficial results of practicing that on a day-to-day basis, it becomes very compelling because it works. It benefits me. And so I teach a lot of, in the Course, it says you learn what you teach. So I interact with a lot of people over the years, not as many as perhaps you have, Tamara, or the other folks that are here. But the main thing that I'm grateful for is how the Course has benefited me in my life. One of its principles is to share or demonstrate how this is working for you. And when I share it, it comes back to me and reinforces the gratitude. It's amazing it works. And that realm of miracles, I found out that if I can live in this atmosphere of gratitude, I get a lot more miracles to where they do seem natural and expected.
I think you've touched on a real key point of the more we experience gratitude, the more shifts in perception and love occurs. And the miracles occur more and more where we do feel completely in sync with that. Maggie, you're shaking your head. Go for it.
Thank you, Tam. Yeah, I would first like to just echo Reverend Jim's sentiment that it is such an honor to be here, and I am very grateful for that. And the topic being gratitude just feels very, very self-satisfying right now. So I like a couple of things that have already been said, and I think I could kind of piggyback on them a little bit. You know, Tam was mentioning at the end of a long, hard day, and sometimes gratitude being the last thing that your mind might want to go to. And I know that for me, one of the practical applications of the course is to very mindfully practice gratitude in exactly those types of moments. And for a very long time, it was something that felt even kind of forced at first to try and get yourself into that mind space. But I find that I have a nightly gratitude practice, which just includes me in prayer and communion, just expressing gratitude. And it has become so much easier to do that and to genuinely feel it, genuinely mean it, not be having to get myself to express gratitude. So that's something that I've noticed with practice. It actually is certainly something that comes more naturally. And I just really enjoy too what Reverend Jim was saying about how everything has been laid out for you. And that is something that I don't know what I could say I am more grateful for than the sense that I have my own internal personalized guidance system and that I can turn there anytime. And that is something that I have so much gratitude for. And the course says somewhere that God doesn't need our gratitude, but like we need to practice feeling the gratitude for God so that we can really grow that love and appreciation for God. And so that's something that I feel so much gratitude, and I often express that I'm so grateful that I do not need to know what anything is for. I've got this personalized guidance. Everything is meeting me exactly where I am. And God might not need my gratitude, but I'm benefiting from expressing it.
Maggie, you remind me of a story about my grandmother who used to say prayers for people in her life. And her prayers were very much based in gratitude. It wasn't just keep this person safe. It was, thank you for this person. And as she got older and older, she was up and awake more and more. And I said to her, do you have insomnia? And she said, I'm not sure if I have insomnia or if I just have so many people to be grateful for now that I'm, in my 80s, that I just stay up most of the night thinking of them and feeling grateful. She said, but is that insomnia? I couldn't answer. I said, whatever it is, you're spending your time well. So beware if it's your nightly practice. That's all I'm saying.
I love that story, Tam. And yeah, you have to sometimes shorten it up a little bit. Recognize that we can say it just for everyone all at once because we are all one.
Yep. Either way.
It's a great substitute for counting sheep, perhaps. So.
That's good. So I just want to say that I'm delighted that everyone's here, and I'm grateful for everybody that's listening and watching. And so the course just tells us that everything in this world and this illusion is an opportunity for forgiveness. And I just know that for me, in order for me to get to love and gratitude, I have to go through forgiveness, which is not always easy. But I kind of feel like it's the walk that we love is the way that we walk in gratitude. And when I think about lesson 195, I just have to read something from that lesson, which gratitude goes hand in hand with love. And where one is, the other must be found. For gratitude is but an aspect of the love, which is the source of all creation. So God gives thanks to you, his son, for being what you are, his own completion and the source of love along with him. And I just have always said that for me, when I opened this book up, I just felt like Jesus was holding my hand and saying, you are love. That's the only thing that you are. And again, love and gratitude just go hand in hand with me. And I can't help but bringing Judy into this conversation because one thing that I did for 20 years to counteract a childhood of being told that I was ungrateful was to do a gratitude journal. I mean, it's very new agey and it's what we're taught in, you know, in self-help 101. It's just do a gratitude journal. So for, I want to say at least 20 years, every night before I went to bed, I did a gratitude journal. And I thought, I'm just going to pull out a gratitude journal from my trunk before we did this webinar today. And the gratitude journal that I pulled out was from 2013. I know you guys can't see this, but I opened it up and Judy Sketch's birthday, 4/12/13. And then it's just a page of grateful for Judy, grateful for Judy, grateful. So of every gratitude that every journal that I picked up, this was the journal from 2013. So I just had to share that with you.
Laura, will you explain who Judy Sketch-Whitson?
Of course. Judith Sketch-Whitson is your mother.
That's true.
And the co-founder of the Foundation for Inner Peace.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So there's so much that can be said with what all of you have shared initially. Something that caught me, Laura, said, you said, I know for me to get to love and gratitude, I often have to go through a process of forgiveness. And it's not always easy, which has also been my experience. But can each of you maybe give an example from your life, from your experience of how miracles, a more specific example of how miracles and gratitude are connected, or even using an example of forgiveness and how you've experienced the shift going from fear to love? It brought you to a place of gratitude, something that will help us unpack this a little bit more for our audience.
Let me start here from what I've learned from A Course in Miracles. It's something that I remember, I've been doing A Course a while. I remember I used to say to my kids, life is always a win-win proposition, because you're either gonna get a reward or you're gonna get a lesson. Both of those have value. As a matter of fact, I've found more value in some of my lessons than in the direct rewards. So lesson 193 says, all things are lessons God would have me learn. So the more I practice seeing what I used to call problems as lessons, man, I'm grateful for lessons. I didn't like them when they were problems, but I become open to them as lessons because they're lessons that help me grow. And, Nietzsche said that which does not kill you makes you stronger. And the Course says you will be purified, made perfect through a combination of rewards or incentives directly, or through the stuff you miss. It doesn't matter how you get there. The thing about it also is that the more lessons I learn, the more rewards I get, and the need for further lessons diminishes. Does that make sense? it has a compound return on the investment that I make. So whether it's a direct reward, hey, I take that, right? You, right? Or if it comes to me through a lesson, I've come to understand, the Bible says, for we know that all things work together for good. Lesson 292 in the course says, a happy outcome to all things is sure. So I've learned to be grateful for the happy outcomes, regardless of the classes I took or whether the exams were easy or hard. It's a matriculation through a curriculum. It is a required course. And I've really gotten on board with that. The course lives through its application. You get brownie points for the theory, but if you really want to experience it, apply it in your life. And I've had the willing, I picked up the course in 2001, and unlike a lot of course students I hear about, I've never put the book down. I was a Bible student for many years before that, but I don't know. I just walked right into the course. It was contradictory to the Bible the first few years, so there was this dichotomy. But the more I studied the course, the Bible came back at me in a whole new way. And I was able to integrate the principles of the two. Different approaches, but boy, were they saying the same things.
Well, since you're talking about theory versus specifics, could you give us a specific example of how the course has moved you through forgiveness to gratitude? I have one. I'll follow up, but I'd love to, or I can give one and then you can take a break and think of one. But is there a specific, very powerful example that you have of what you're talking about in theory?
Sure, I'll give you, I won't go too long.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
Let's see, I've been married twice and divorced. I was in a live-in relationship, and I'm always going, why? Dislike these women. As a matter of fact, I'm getting a dislike all of you. Okay, what is wrong? And then I was able, through forgiveness, to stand back and to look at this a little more rationally and say, now, none of these women knew each other. The only thing that in common with all of these episodes is me. Why don't I start taking a look at that one instead of trying to look outside? Maybe I could clean up a little bit. Maybe I could quit being so needy. As the course says, the special relationships, trying to take the perceived half that I need from you. Let me take a look at that one, because that's the one that's been in common in all those relationships. And the revelations and insights have been quite helpful.
That's beautiful.
I take response, the course says you have to be responsible. And I forgave the relationships and put the responsibility where it belonged. And it seems to be working better.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll follow up with one that just happened, something relatively recent. I'm friends with a group of people, and I stepped into a group that was somewhat already formed. And there was one man in this group who I found extremely superficial, very attractive, long hair, flinging it around like Fabio. And I did not take a liking to him. And I liked not liking him. You know, it made me feel, okay, don't have to like everyone in the world. But I didn't care for certain things he was doing or not doing for friends of mine. He wasn't following through on commitments that he said he would show up for. And I had a bad attitude about him. And I suddenly realized, wait a second, what am I doing? What am I doing inside myself that I'm even not liking him? What's going on with me? So I couldn't change my opinion. My opinion seemed pretty fixed in there inside me. And so I asked for help, and I said, please, please help me see something different here. And he had a very picture perfect wedding that I went to that I was suspicious of. I mean, every little New Yorker instinct in me came out because everything was too perfect. And within a day of my having that prayer, because his name came up and other people seemed to like him, a friend came from from Los Angeles, and was supposed to be having dinner with me and my partner. And he said, oh, would you mind? Like, I totally forgot I had made this appointment with this guy. I can either cancel it or you can come with me if you guys want to come with me, but I won't be able to join you for dinner. Mm-hmm. And I looked and I went, I think I need to come with you, because guess what? I don't like him. I said this to the friend of the friend. I said, I don't care for him. And I'd really like to see what you like in him or find some other way in. So said, okay, we all went out to dinner, a group of people. I had no chance to talk with him. And I thought, well, that's funny. I still feel the same. Then we went to a movie, and the seating was such that this person ended up sitting between a wall and me. So we were trapped together. It happened by accident. You pick seats at the movie theater. It was one of these assigned ones. And he came late, and this was the one that he got, the only seat available. And I didn't know what to say to him. And I just went to my prayer. Let me find something that I can, have in common with this person. And when I did that, I turned to him and I said, so how is that picture perfect life of yours? That's just what came out of me. And I was hoping I didn't say it sarcastically, but I might have. And he looked at me and he said, I can't believe you asked me that. Everything has fallen apart. I've not told a person about this, but my world in that life has been shattered, and I'm just dealing with it now. And for 5 minutes before the movie started, he just poured out his soul. And my heart completely opened up to him. And I gave him my phone number. The next day he called me, we got together, we talked, and I helped support him, and I saw his beauty. That's all I can say. I saw his beauty. And we developed, both of us said, we have too many friends. We don't want another friend, but it's almost like we started a friendship in the middle instead of in the beginning because of this. And I can truly say, I went to this person's house for dinner last night with the person who had come up from Los Angeles. This is several months later, and he got his life back. He got himself back, the self that he really felt that he had lost. In any case, I felt and feel so much better being able to love this person than the like I had in not liking him. And that part of my ego that's just like, I like not liking someone, and he's a really good one to not like. It was such a shift in me, and with it came this amazing gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And it really felt like a holy moment and a holy experience. So the asking for help, even when you like not caring for something, or you like your own opinion, the noticing it and asking for help, it works. That's all I can say. It works over and over again.
I'd love to just add on to that, because you mentioned the ego, and I was saying that, thinking that the ego can use anything as a weapon, including gratitude and love. And I spend pretty much every month or every 6 weeks in New York. I live in California, and I go back and forth because I am a caretaker for my mother, who is in this nursing home. And what I have discovered is that people that live in nursing homes and that people that work in nursing homes don't necessarily want to be there in every way, shape, and form. So in the beginning, when I started going there, I would get so triggered by how unhappy people were, like so triggered. I'd come in with gifts and love and just be like shut out completely. And so I recognized that my reaction to all of that, people being turned off, was all about me. It's always all about me. But I was like overreacting, like, in giving we receive. How come no one's grateful here? No, because people are unhappy. That's why they're really unhappy. A lot of people that work there are unhappy, and a lot of people that live there are unhappy. And my coming in, sprinkling my fairy dust isn't going to necessarily cure them or help them, but yet it is, because we are all one in God's mind and are in oneness. We are all one. So why do I do it? Do I do it for them? Do I do it for me? Well, I do it for the collective. But reacting to it and reacting to not getting anything back is what my work is all about. And so, and even with my family who has the same reaction, my reacting to them not feeling grateful if, our gifts and love aren't respected. It's like, it doesn't matter. What matters is that we're doing it because, that's what we're drawn to do, not to get anything from it. So that's my example. And I've really, really recognized that I've shifted my whole perception of what expecting anything or being attached to any outcome. And that's just been a miracle for me. And I also want to say that to counteract that negative, you're ungrateful, and, the things that my father used to tell me when I was a little girl, that even though this isn't from the course, my mother used to say, still does, believe it or not, over and over and over again, there's a destiny that makes us brothers. No one goes his way alone. What you send into the lives of others comes back into your own. So we keep on talking about that. It works, because the more love and gratitude we put out, the more we feel it, the more we raise the consciousness. So I'm just grateful that I can recognize that, despite despite anything that's not loving. Thanks.
I love that, Laura. That's really nice. And I feel like I'd like to just jump right in there. I'll give my own example. And, the thing that you just recited that your mother says about how it just comes back to you. I've got a recent example, I feel, that really illustrated that for me. So I recently was in a training for my job, and it was a multi-day training, multi-day, all day. And I really love to learn generally. So I generally enjoy these types of things. But I found that I was getting a little annoyed with the person that was putting on the training. And my personal practice right now includes me being very aware of the moments where I have these little subtle, used to slip by me, ego judgments. And it comes in that form for me often of just I wouldn't do it like that. And so it's not rage. It's not a lot of anger even at all. It's just a little, I wouldn't do it like that. And so Spirit's made it very clear to me that is, that needs to go. That is the root of, in fact, the fear that I do still experience. So I am on to this now, and I'm watching my mind for it. And so when the training occurred and I was having those little thoughts, just those little twinges of, oh, I don't like how he did that. I wouldn't do that. That was kind of unkind. I really took that on board as an opportunity to practice. And so I think it was actually that evening during my gratitude practice that I was just talking about, I was really noticing those little twinges still there. And I was asking for help from Spirit to remember the truth about me and this man, and to release us both. And so the funny little thing about those little subtle ego judgments is, like, once you start picking at them a little bit, they get less subtle, in my experience at least. And my ego was kind of stuck on it a little bit. It wasn't a one and done, ask for help once and it was going away situation. My mind was generating more and more about what I didn't like this individual was doing. And so I was persistent, and I just kept asking for help and asking for help. And I finally felt it, like, oh, busted through it, kind of feel the lifting and the release. And Spirit suggested to me I should have a little dance party in my mind with this individual, because we are both perfect. We are doing the best that we can. And both of us really deserve to celebrate that. And so I did. And this is kind of funny for me, because you couldn't get me to dance. You could not get me to dance. You could not pay me money to dance. But in my mind, apparently, as suggested by Spirit, a little dance party was okay. So I did that, and it just was so silly. I was even kind of giggling to myself a little bit. And, I drifted off to sleep after that. And then the training was still going on. The next day was the final day of the training. And I really had this felt sense of seeing him totally differently, and seeing that he was really making great effort to present the material in a way that was helpful to those that were there. My whole feeling about him had changed. But the thing too is that, like Laura was just saying, the feeling about myself had changed too. And for me, that's the gratitude right there, is that, like Laura said, we're not just releasing ourselves, we're releasing everybody together. And so that for me is how the miracles and the forgiveness and the gratitude all go together.
That is great. I love that, Maggie. I think it's a good segue for the next question I want to pose. But I wanted to point out, I love what you said. It also made me laugh, because I've experienced this too. But when you went to that training and you're like, I wouldn't do that. I would do that. And I think that's a really great example of being vigilant, when you're knocked off your piece, because it's very easy to just push those feelings aside and just continue in this energy of being frustrated or whatever. So I just love that you're like, okay, you became aware, and you're like, okay, and you did your practice, which I thought was beautiful. So I love what you shared. I also love what Laura shared too, and shifted her whole perception of being attached to any outcome, which is really key. And I think that's definitely a product of this practice as we continue to go on. So my question is, we got to take what you said, segue into unpacking this a little bit more, because how does gratitude remind us that love is all that is real? It's really the only thing that is. I think Maggie opened the door for that. I wanted to go deeper, because this is what A Course is saying is a pure non-dualistic teaching. God is. There is only love. So there is no opposite in reality, but our experience in this duality shows us a lot of different opposites. So a lot of examples of opposites, I should say. So could we unpack that a little bit more about gratitude reminding us that love is all there is? That's the reality.
Well, I think the Course is a non-dual teaching. It is absolute in what it says, with no exceptions. When you start attempting to make exceptions, you start getting a world that looks like this one. It doesn't work because it's not whole. It's a mixture, it's a split. And when you take something that's absolute, it is indivisible by definition. If you mess with it, you'll get a caricature. but the caricature will have flaws. It's like if you're watching, what was that movie, The Matrix? And they knew it was a fake because the cat ran across the screen twice. There was a glitch in the Matrix. Well, that's what you get, is a simulation, but a copy is flawed compared to the original. It doesn't have the substance of the original. It's a caricature. And so my gratitude from the course, after these many years, and Lord knows I'm not there yet, but I have accepted the absolute. There are a couple of passages from the course where I distinctly remember this connection. Workbook lesson 67 says, love created me like itself. Well, over the years, if I'm entertaining that notion seriously, if love created me like itself, what am I? Love. When? All the time, right? So then there's this other passage in the text, and I looked it up here. It's in chapter 4, section Roman numeral 1, right teaching and right learning. Just read you a sentence from paragraph 9. God gave you a very lofty function that you are not meeting. Your ego has chosen to be afraid instead of meeting it. What is this lofty function that my ego is afraid of meeting? To be what I am, love, all the time. So if love created me like itself, and I only act from that nature sometime, I'm a fake. And being a fake produces guilt at some level. So that little thing, that little anxiety that, okay, things may be going okay, but the other shoe's about to fall. And that uneasiness that we carry even in the best of seeming situations, it's still there. I've learned that's because I'm a fake. I'm trying to be something other than what I purely am. I say, well, you can't be purely love here. That's impossible. No, it's not. I've given it a try in little ways. I'm still being tested daily. But so far, when I've seriously and consciously made an effort to be one thing, that section in the course called Above the Battleground, where you learn to stay above the battleground. Well, the problem is, can you stay there without exception? That is what the Holy Spirit will teach you to do if you trust it to do its job. And I'm trusting it more and more because my life is better. And what seemed impossible, maybe a nice, pretty thing, cliche, to be loved, And also the ego substitutes for what love is, and oh, nice mamby-pamby. There are very powerful, strong, yet loving responses to every situation. Okay, I may have to smack you to get you off of me, to give me a chance to come back with something else that works. But I'm not doing it to attack you. I'm just handling the situation in the present moment as spirit would lead. Most of the time, though, spirit's going to tell me to walk away. Doesn't that sound, if the opportunity is there? If not, spirit's got a variety of solutions. But one thing I can count on is that they'll all be loving. That's why I'm grateful. I've seen so many things that I would have handled differently in the past that I make another choice about now. In the past, they were problems. Now they're stepping stones to perfection, because love created me like itself. That is my natural, that's my nature. And my ego can argue with that or make exceptions, but I've learned to forgive it, overlook it. I see through it. Not all the time, right? But I'm better than I used to be. It works.
Yeah, it does work. And, you know, in this question, how does gratitude remind us that love is all that is real? I had an experience with my mother as she was transitioning, and she was screaming in pain, absolute pain. She was having congestive heart failure and a heart attack, and she was screaming in pain. And I was very annoyed with her body. It was like, stop hurting my mother. How do I stop you? Morphine, stop you, whatever will stop you, stop it. And my mother looked at my expression, and I knew she was reading it. And she said to me, honey, pay no attention to what my body is doing. It's doing its job. It's my time, and it knows that I would not leave. I would still be working right now if my body wasn't doing this to me, because I'm so driven. And it is kicking me out because it's my time and I don't know how to let go easily. And it was such a profound statement to me. And she said, I've never felt more peaceful in my life. Pay attention to that, not my body screaming. And what happened inside me was this complete shift to kissing and hugging and touching her body and stroking it, going, good body. Thank you for housing my mother for all these years. Thank you for putting up with her ignoring you and eating bad things. Thank you for her putting up with her working all hours of the night and being a workaholic. Thank you for bringing her to this point, and thank you for helping her release now to where she needs to be next. And that love that she ended up melting into, which she really did, I joined her in that experience of just remembering that that's all that's real. And the other stuff isn't real. It's a play, it's a shout, it's a cry, and as she was screaming, being able to look in her eyes and see the peace that she was experiencing, it profoundly entered me as well as she was going through it, to allow me to purely love that body and what it was doing at that moment.
I just think that's a great example of the deep clarity.
Yeah.
Like your mom, she's so deep and committed.
Yeah.
That she could still see clearly despite the pain, the conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't that a beautiful thing when you see clear enough? You know how the page 1 of the course, the purpose of this course is to remove the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. And she could see clearly despite appearances. And that gave her peace.
It did.
By the way, she could share that with you at that moment.
Yes, and it brought me to another experience which transformed me, which is I was bringing some bedding down to a room because a friend was coming to visit, and I had to go outside, and I was carrying 2 pillows and a comforter. And I started to run because I heard she was coming 2 hours before I expected her. So I was running with this bedding, and I tripped and flew into the equivalent of concrete. It was flagstone, really hard, and flew and came crashing down, realizing that I would break my jaw and my face. And I knew how bad it was going to be as I was coming down, but I had 2 pillows in my hand, and I came crashing down, and my head bounced, and my body had a comforter wrapped around it because I was bringing the comforter down. I couldn't quite hold it with the 2 pillows. And I came padded all the way down, except for one tiny part of my knee. And my knee hit, this one little, like Achilles heel of my knee hit. And I was screaming in pain because that one part hit so much. But I was crying, saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because one, I knew how much worse it could be, and it could have been, but it was that same kind of experience of, okay, there's pain, but I am so grateful. And there's so much love here. And thank you, body. And thank you for taking this hit for me. I should be moving more slowly and in alignment with you. Thank you for this lesson. And you're going to make me limp for a few weeks to slow me down. And that's okay. It's really okay. And so just the moment with her as she was passing shifted to an everyday moment in my own life. And it keeps going like that.
What a beautiful, beautiful example. And so in the illusion, we're about to go into the holiday season and Thanksgiving. This is actually going to be on the broadcast in November, which is when we're about to celebrate Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving, I just say that they're all symbolic and meaningful in the world of form. And they were also torturous for me most of my life. Like holidays have always been challenging, really challenging. They're not anymore. Like the miracle in my life is that I just accept everything that comes with them. I mean, going back to what you were saying, Reverend Jim, that it's just, there's so much separation, so much guilt, so much fear, so much pain in this world that it's like, how can I make the best of this situation? So today I'm at CVS and I'm looking at this Thanksgiving card and it said, have a peaceful Thanksgiving. And I opened it up and it was stay away from your family. And I just cracked up out loud. And it's like, I just have to use humor in order to get through this time and use gratitude and love. But in a big part of my life, there's a lot of people that are unhappy and can't feel grateful can't feel loving, can't feel grateful, are depressed. And I feel like my journey in form is to really be in a place of acceptance around that. Because I'm a control freak, and that is really hard for me to not be able to control all of the depression and the darkness and the pain that surrounds me. And so my practice in gratitude, in extending love, in removing the blocks is just to remember that my job is not to fix everybody, to control everybody, and to save everybody. And that, especially as we go into this season of love and light and beauty. And it's so wonderful if we can just accept it for, or if I can accept it for what it's supposed to be versus what we've made up that it is. And so that's the challenge and that's the gift. And yeah, thanks.
Even the words, thanks and giving, that we've put them together, has its message all right in there about it. What's real about that? Yes. It's not thanks and taking, or thanks even in receiving. It's that the reciprocal, both are together.
Just makes me think, Tam, about that quote, to have, give all to all. But yeah, and if I can pop in and offer my own answer to the question about how does gratitude remind us that love is all that is real, I'm thinking about it and reflecting on it in my own experience here. And, A Course in Miracles is all about, I think Selena said right at the beginning, that shift from fear to love. And I'm someone who has felt just a lot of fear in my life. A lot of, Reverend Jim mentioned anxiety. I really would use that word to describe my experience. And so it's a big part of what brought me to the Course. And it's a big part of what fuels me continuing to practice, is I'd like to not feel this fear anymore. So I know for me in my experience, it's like the more I practice forgiveness, the more I experience the miracle, which is that shift from fear to love. And then I feel gratitude. Oh, thank goodness. And there's always, for me, a lot of insight and new understanding that tends to come in at that point too, that really just fuels the gratitude. And it all feels so loving as I let myself be in that and even express the gratitude. I feel it coming back to me, and it just feels like this embrace. And I don't know how to prove that that means that love is all that is real, but in me, it just feels like this is so clearly what is real, because it builds and grows on itself, and it just dispels the fear. Right? It's like that quote about the light, just, the dark and the light cannot exist together. The dark just goes away. So it just seems that love is the more real thing, and that doing the practice of forgiveness, feeling that gratitude, expressing it and being in the gratitude, that's what really brings it into my awareness that love is the only thing that's real.
I think gratitude is due when you understand that God has a plan. We were not abandoned, but it takes a great deal of willingness and acceptance to entertain even the notion of God's plan, because it's so extraordinary. It's so in counterpoint to what we think like a solution is. It's like we use earthly means and try and put together a solution. God's plan is not even logical to us until we give up our logic. But as we're willing to surrender and take a look at this extraordinary, crazy sounding logic, the more I'm open to it, the more it started to make sense. And then it went past that point to making more sense than what I used to think made sense. It surmounted the old logic. And I can see the beauty of God's plan, which is basically and fundamentally expressed through A Course in Miracles. It talks about the required course in removing the blocks to love's presence. It talks about forgiveness as being the day-to-day process through which you allow this purification, if you will, to occur. Finally, it tells me, we're chapter 10, there's a section says, at home in God, dreaming of exile. So, it takes a while to, and some people never get there. The Course says the world is an illusion. It's not alone in saying that. But as your acceptance gets wider and you say, okay, it's an illusion, now the question is, why did I get caught up in this crazy, mad dream? Well, cause and effect would say it had a cause. It has a purpose. What is that purpose? It's pretty incredible. The Holy Spirit's job is to take the problem, the illusion, the thing that I believe, and use that to show me I can't believe it. He actually takes my lemons and transforms it into lemonade. It takes lesson 79, let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. And once you understand what the problem is, and God's already put the solution in place, it says, let me recognize the problem has been solved. I am not alone. We are one. And I'm going to show you in this dream that when you start acting as though this thing is one, instead of the idea of separate, you'll start to become convinced of it. And then you'll use it more because it makes your life better when you're loving. I'm trying to be a good student and learn how to do that. Absolutely. Only love is real. I'll show you. Try it. The thing about love, though, is you can't mix it. Okay, because if you mix the truth with illusion, the truth can't be true if you don't let it be wholly true. It won't work partially. You can't serve two masters.
So you're talking about specialness versus holiness right now.
Yes. And if you'll allow me, I'll even show, I'm not trying to destroy your special relationships, but if you will allow me, I will show you how to transform them into holy. The word whole, holy, and wholeness are exactly the same. Holy and wholeness are synonymous. I can't be holy separately.
Yeah. Thanks so much for that. Great reminders and also great examples from everyone about that love is only real. So we're getting to a portion now where we're going to start wrapping up and bringing our circle here to a close. And I wanted to give, just reflecting back what you all have shared and thinking about some of the things that you shared in this past round. Laura, miracles, this miracle of acceptance that she spoke about. I love how Maggie said, the more I practice forgiveness, the more I feel a shift and then I feel gratitude. I think that certainly resonates with me and a lot of people. We opened it up, Reverend Jim talked about really the importance of being uncompromising to this practice, which I love as well. So I think in closing, so going to have you add anything you'd like to add, but it made me think, so is love and gratitude, somebody talked about this earlier, but are they really the same thing? And, is gratitude really the true agent of change that we may be overlooking? That's just a question that I pose. Is there anybody, how would you like to close out? Any lasting thoughts, piggybacking off of that, or anything that you would love to say connecting gratitude with miracles?
Well, I just want to say that I think that love is the only thing that's real, and gratitude is an extension of love. But I think of more in this world as gratitude as a concept, especially when I associate it with things like Thanksgiving and how this world makes up what gratitude is. So it's kind of hard for me to think of gratitude as love, even though I know it's an extension of love. But love is love. Love is all that's real. Love is love. And so, while gratitude is a part of it, I just feel like love stands all on its own. It's just what I want to share about that.
I feel there are, just like it's called A Course in Miracles, there's many paths to the experience of love. Gratitude is it comes out of love, and it is part of love because it's an expression of love, not just an extension. It is an expression that as we walk in love, and love then is the way we walk in gratitude. They are so connected, and it's not a separate thing unless we're in the world of duality, defining it in our minds. But in the experience of it, I remember holding my baby when he was born, and it was just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It was love that was saying thank you, thank you, thank you. They were one and the same for me experientially. They're one and the same. It's not a thought of, I have to thank so and so because they did something for me. It's just an extension of that love, and an expression of that love. So, what were you going to say, Reverend Jim?
Well, a couple of things, and I'll try and make it short. Let's ground this whole thing in some common sense, which the Course does quite nicely. It says, look, I know I'm Jesus and I have quite a bit of an authority. Your ears perk up when you hear it's a message from Jesus. But I would just offer the same test that the Course offers. And that is to say, it's a very eloquent book, but don't believe this stuff that you read in a book. First of all, you don't know. There's a lot of great books. They say a lot of great things, but please don't just accept this because you read it in an authoritative book. Try it. If it works, use it. If it doesn't, listen, I don't know anything, but if I find something that works all the time, it's probably true. That will be my evidence. I've been willing to apply the Course, and I am so grateful to have found something that works in a holistic way across the board all the time. It's easy to use because it's only one thing. And boy, has it simplified my life. I don't have a zillion problems. I have one problem, separation. And that one has been solved awaiting my acceptance. Close with very quickly with probably my all-time favorite quote. It's from lesson 135, paragraph 18. Jesus says, "What could you not accept if you but knew that everything that happens, all events, past, present, and to come, have been gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good? Perhaps you have misunderstood his plan, for he would never bring pain to you, but your defenses, those blocks to love's presence, did not let you see his blessing in every step you ever took. While you made plans for death, he led you to everlasting life. In spite of me, I am so grateful for that. I was going the wrong way. Thank God for a Savior."
Hallelujah to that.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad that you brought that quotation in, honestly, because that says it really for me too. And I think, Selena, I'm trying to remember the wording you just used. Is gratitude kind of like a
Agent for change is what I said.
agent for change? Thank you. I was trying to remember what you said, and I really feel that in my experience. So I wanted to just speak to that. I know for me, the gratitude, like I said, it feels very much like it's a practice. It's something that I can actively practice, and it feels instrumental then in my experience of having miracles. But like I said too, I think that the biggest shift for me comes out of recognizing what Jim was just saying, that everything is for our good. And that ability to then be grateful for things that are triggering, to be grateful for things that are upsetting me, to be grateful for things that I used to see as burdens or hardships or, oh gosh, why is this happening? It's like that ability now to just say, oh, look, I'm feeling something other than peace. This is an opportunity. And to be able to be grateful that this is now going to come up for healing, that has been such a significant shift in my experience. And while I do still feel anxiety and depression and things that led me to become a therapist to try to figure those things out, I find that I now can still feel those things, but I feel more of a gratitude that this is something coming up for my healing. And if I can really do the work with it, I can help bring myself home.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. What a great way to end this. I just wanted to see, is there anything else that we need to add before, or are we complete?
I liked it.
Me too.
Hey, listen, I don't know if I said this here, but I got a call from Foundation for Inner Peace last Tuesday morning about 10 or 11. And that afternoon around 1 or 2, David Hoffmeister called me to do an interview. There's no direct correlation between the time you nurture a flower and the time it takes to bloom. I've been working on hearing from you guys for years, and David too. So you say, I've been at this, and then all of a sudden, kaboom!
Gratitude.
Oh, I
Gratitude.
love it.
Yes.
That's so great.
Thank you. I'm
Bravo.
very honored that
What a
you
great way to
invited.
end.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Selena.
Absolutely.
So,
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
So we really want to thank our guest for this discussion today and thank all of the attendees who are also joining us. I want to share a few foundation resources that may be helpful to you. So keep an eye on the group chat for website links that we will be posting there. A Course in Miracles web edition is now more than a year old. So since 2021, the ACIM web edition has been online and contains the complete course, including the full text and each workbook lesson. So you can follow along with accompanying audio. You can also read, share your favorite quote, and listen to A Course in Miracles from any of your devices. We just want to remind you that you can find that at acim.org/ACIM. We also want to thank all those who have donated to the Foundation for Inner Peace. Your donation certainly makes a difference, no matter the amount. Our listeners can visit our online donor page if you would like at acim.org/donate. And as we wrap up the feature today, a brief survey should display on your screen. So just let us know how we're doing and what kind of content you would like to see going forward. If you have specific questions or requests, please make sure to include your name and email in that survey so we can connect with you. Stay tuned for next month's web events, which will be announced soon. If you subscribe to our webinar announcements, you will be getting an email. Additionally, you can always check in on our website's event page for registrations of the latest webinar offerings. That's near the top. And then if you scroll down on the events page, you'll see webinar recordings posted, the most recent first. So please follow our events, and you can also see our videos by following our YouTube channel, Foundation for Inner Peace on YouTube. Also email us at any time at discuss@acim.org. With love and gratitude, we thank you for being here, and we look forward to having you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.